Hey, I'm Allie. I am a nurse that works in the intensive care unit. I'm deaf and I use a cochlear implant to hear. I wanted to talk a little bit about how I am successful as a nurse with a cochlear implant. So a little bit of background on me. I went deaf when I was 3 years old from bacterial meningitis, and I was implanted in my right ear with a cochlear implant, and my deaf ear is still totally deaf. When I don't have my cochlear implant in, I am completely deaf. When I got into nursing school, the very first problem I faced was, how am I going to use a stethoscope? Because I only hear out of this microphone right here. I don't hear out of my actual ears. And stethoscopes go right into your ears. I needed to find a way to be able to use a stethoscope and listen to people's heart and lungs. I honestly didn't even think about this until I got into nursing school, and I had a little moment of panic as to what I would do. But I did find very quickly that ThinkLabs 1 makes a stethoscope that I could plug whatever headphones I wanted into, and it worked beautifully. So this is the ThinkLabs stethoscope that I used. I got it a couple years ago in nursing school, and I'm still using it now. It has a little logo on the back, and this functions as the stethoscope in general. And so the controls on the front will tell me what exactly I'm listening to and the volume of what I'm listening to. Because the stethoscope has two sides, the bell and the diaphragm, and it listens to different sounds in the heart and the lungs and the stomach. So I can press buttons to switch to the bell and the diaphragm of a stethoscope and just use this side to listen. You can plug any headphones into this here and turn it into a stethoscope. And so someone with normal hearing can plug in like Apple earbuds that are wired in, and they can use this stethoscope just as well as I can. So I have a metal cochlear implant, and this is a metal audio link, and it Bluetooth connects to my cochlear implant. So now the audio link is actually Bluetooth streaming to my cochlear implant. The stethoscope is on, and now I can listen to my heart. It works. So this turns on in seconds. It has been perfect for me to quickly listen to someone's heart. I just keep the audio link on because it can stay on standby all shift, and then all I do is turn the stethoscope on, and within 3 seconds my stethoscope is on and ready to use. It's pretty much the exact same thing as somebody taking their stethoscope out and putting it in their ears. So huge shout out to ThinkLabs 1 for making this accessible to someone with a cochlear implant. Have used the ThinkLabs 1 both with over-ear headphones and with the new audio link. And I'll put a link to the ThinkLabs 1 stethoscope below if anybody is interested in looking at it for themselves. I know a lot of providers with regular normal hearing will use the ThinkLabs 1 because it has a lot of cool bells and whistles, and it really has a great sound. It's just a really good stethoscope, and I'm lucky that it works with my cochlear implant. So I'm a new nurse. I take my cochlear implant and my fancy little stethoscope to my job in the intensive care unit, which is where we take care of very, very sick people, and a lot of times we're trying to save their lives and keep them from dying. So I get a lot of very important information thrown at me, and I need to make sure that I'm hearing it correctly, because the cochlear implant helps, but it's not a perfect replacement for perfect hearing in my experience. So in order to make sure that I am getting the information correctly, following the doctor's orders correctly, I practice closed loop communication. So in my unit in the hospital, everybody practices closed loop communication. It's not just me, but I make sure I use it all the time. Closed loop communication is where you basically repeat back what someone told you to do, so everybody makes sure that you heard it correctly and you're about to do it correctly. So say, for example, a patient has a very slow heart rate and we're worried that the heart's going to stop, and the doctor tells me, push 0.5 of atropine. If I'm practicing closed loop communication, I will listen to that, look at the doctor and repeat, I am pushing 0.5 milligrams of atropine. That way, if I heard the doctor wrong, then he or she can go, no, wait, stop. This is the correct order, instead of me just going, I think I heard 0.5 of atropine, push. Because at the end of the day, you can't take back some of the things you do in the ICU. Once you give a medication to a patient through an IV line, you cannot really take it back. So it's really important to practice closed loop communication for everybody, but it's really useful for me because I have the security that I'm hearing people correctly if I just confirm it by repeating it back to them. One challenge I've faced as a deaf nurse in the intensive care unit and a deaf nurse in general is I can't really tell where sound is coming from. I only have one cochlear implant, so I can't really localize sound or pinpoint where it may be coming from. And I've also heard that people with 2 cochlear implants can't do it that well either. So your mileage may vary on whether someone with a cochlear implant can tell where sound is coming from, but I can't. So when I hear an alarm, it's really helpful for me because all the alarms in the hospital have a light associated with them. So if the ventilator is beeping, then the ventilator is lighting up. If the IV pump is beeping, the IV pump is lighting up. If I'm not sure if the alarm is coming from my room or not, I look in the room and look and see if anything's lighting up in my patient's room. So that's really helpful for me as a new nurse especially. I have no trouble telling difference in pitches and difference in the kind of alarms that are going off. So if I hear a ventilator alarm, I know that's from the ventilator. But it's just a matter of which ventilator is it coming from. That's where I use the light kind of indicator to figure out if that's my ventilator that's going off. So while I've run into these different little roadblocks in being a deaf nurse with a cochlear implant, there's one really cool thing that I've noticed. I wear my hair up to work, so it's really obvious that I have one, and a lot of my patients will be dealing with new changes in their life, like maybe they're not talking as effectively as they were before, like maybe they've had a stroke, or maybe they're having vision problems or hearing problems because some of the medications we give can mess with your hearing. And so they see that I have a cochlear implant and I can connect with my patients because I'm having trouble hearing too. Or it's not that you're having trouble speaking, it's I'm a nurse with a cochlear implant, we're in this together. We're connecting through our communication differences. So I've had a lot of success in connecting with patients with my cochlear implant, and I feel like it's been a blessing to get to talk to them in that way and connect with them like that. I think it's really easy in the hospital for a patient to see themselves as the sick one and the nurse as the healthy one. And so if I tell this patient that I'm deaf and I have communication differences, then it's just a little bit more of common ground in some cases where I can connect with them. So that's a quick insight on what it's like being a deaf nurse with a cochlear implant and how I make it work and how I succeed in my environment as a ICU nurse. If you're interested in more nursing content or more content on being a deaf nurse, subscribe. There will be more videos coming, and thank you for watching. Bye y'all.